Welcome to Haida Math NCAA football predictions. This is week 13. This is rivalry weekend. A lot of big games, a lot of rivalry, a lot to talk about today. My guest picker today, James Williams, brother in Christ, good friend of mine. He's going to join me for the picks. We're going to start with the UVA Virginia Tech game. As I've been saying most of the season, I think Virginia Tech will fold and UVA will win by 7. What do you think, James?
Well, I think you're on the right track there. Virginia Tech's had a rough year, to say the least. And I'm going to go with UVA all the way. I think 7's a comfortable guess there. Go ahead.
Okay, the second game, Michigan's playing at Ohio State. Probably this will not only determine who gets to play in the Big Ten Championship, who will win the Big Ten Championship, but also who will play for the National Championship. Since I have picked Ohio State to go to the National Championship and play Alabama, I think Ohio State by a field goal late. What do you think, James?
Well, I commend you for being consistent in your Ohio State picks all year long. You've done very well with that. And Michigan has had a hard time getting over the Ohio State hump, if you will. But I'm thinking this is the year. I think Michigan's going to win it, and I think Michigan's going to win it big. I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, you're 1 for 1 so far. So game number 3, Auburn at Alabama. Alabama's going to the National Championship. They're going to be undefeated. They're going to win by a lot. People said at the beginning of the year this was going to be the big test for Alabama to see how they do against Auburn. Auburn has disappointed this year, and Alabama has not disappointed this year.
Yeah.
So Alabama by a lot.
Well, my head says Alabama by a lot, but my heart says War Eagle. I'm going to go with Auburn on a big upset. And I do that partly because I love seeing chaos in the playoffs. So, you're going to pick Auburn. I'm going to pick them in a squeaker, last-second field goal.
One of the things I love about college football is upsets, emotion, kids playing for the love of the game.
Yeah.
So I still think Alabama's going to win by a lot, but I understand and respect your opinion.
All right. Well, that pick is out there. We'll see how I do.
Okay. Game number 4, Notre Dame 11-0, going to USC 5-6. I remember when USC used to be a good team.
Yeah.
It's been a few years. So I'm going to say Notre Dame by 10 because I think USC is going to try and rise to the occasion. But I think Notre Dame ends up in the second half dominating and winning that game, kind of clearing their way to get into the national championship hunt, which will still be Alabama and Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with you. Notre Dame should win this one. They should win it big. And, they are kind of sitting on that outside step, looking into the national championship. But I think this win here is a pretty easy one. Notre Dame should win this one by a couple of touchdowns.
So with that, I have one question for
Sure.
you. When you look at how the national championship is picked and you look at Notre Dame, they're not in a conference. So they will not play a conference championship.
Right.
How will that figure in?
Well, I'm not the biggest Notre Dame fan in the world. But when they're playing USC, I can find it in me to cheer for them. And that's
just like Navy.
Yeah, well, that doesn't help them all the time for an Air Force guy like me. I think that Notre Dame, I want to say they shouldn't be penalized for that, but they should. I mean, if they're not going to be playing against a equal powerhouse at the end, they're just not going to have that quality of win. And join a conference already,
That's what Navy did.
It just seems like Notre Dame's always thought themselves bigger than they should be. And so I say join a conference.
5th pick this week, Navy's playing at Tulane, and I will say Navy is the best 3-8 team in the nation right now. And I'm not just saying that, well, okay, I'm kind of just saying that.
I think you're just kind of saying that because you're a Navy fan.
I've watched them the last couple of weeks, and what hurt Navy all year was they had revolving quarterback, and they just could not get the triple option to work. In the last couple of games, they've settled on, follow me here, the starting quarterback is now the starting wingback.
Right.
The starting wide receiver, who was the backup quarterback, is now the starting quarterback.
Okay.
So the third string quarterback that was the starting quarterback, that became the second string quarterback, is now back to being the second string quarterback behind the starting wide receiver after he replaced the starting slot back.
Right.
But they've had the same setup for the last couple of games, and they've been pretty successful.
How can you say all of that and then say they had the same setup in any situation? Because that's very... Did you carry the 1 in all of that?
I did.
Gyrations
I'm a
there?
math teacher.
It seems...
But What they didn't have was the chemistry for the triple option to work.
Okay.
And,
it does require chemistry. Yeah.
So
They do that.
they've got that. I'm saying Navy over Tulane by 7. And then we'll talk about the Army-Navy game in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'm
well,
not looking forward to that.
I tell you, the Navy juggernaut at 3-8, the best 3-8 team in the nation. I think they're going to struggle against Tulane. And as much as I hate to say that, I'm gonna say the Green Wave's going to squeak this one out. But I think that they'll do it in such a way that Navy will be the best 3-9 team in the country next week. So I'm going Tulane by 6.
Game 6, Army has a bye. I predict they'll do well in their bye week, and some would say they put it in their schedule because they wanted to have an extra week to prepare for Navy. And what has happened in the past, since Navy's in a conference, and occasionally, not this year, occasionally they play in the conference championship, they go from rivalry week, conference championship, to the Army-Navy game. And that actually the first time Army won in 14 years was Navy didn't have that off week. Well, Army said, well, if 1 week off is great, 2 weeks off must be better. So they're taking 2 weeks off. I'm kind of hoping they get soft because I'm not looking forward to that second Saturday in December. But I predict Army does great in their bye week.
Well, we're on the same page here. I think I looked it up. They are undefeated all time against bye week. So I think they're going to continue that streak this week. And,
there was that one time they went into overtime.
Well, it did. It was sketchy.
It was almost.
There's a couple of bad calls that went against them that day, but they persevered.
Yep.
They persevered.
Okay. One of the things that I didn't tell you about James at the beginning, in addition to being a friend and a brother in Christ, he is a guy who was born and raised in Iowa, immigrated to Nebraska, and has yet to change his allegiances to the Cornhuskers. So he is a Hawkeye fan, and this neighborhood's kind of a little gathering of Hawkeye fans here. You guys are
good friends, Matt and Andrea.
Kind of isolated, but we have Nebraska's 4-7, Iowa's 7-4. Nebraska's been coming on strong. Iowa is kind of right behind Virginia Tech in their ability to not quite carry the day. They haven't mastered it like Virginia Tech, but
they've had some ups and downs.
There are a couple of times where they could have won a game and they chose not to for whatever reason.
They did.
So I pick Nebraska. This is weird, by 5.
5?
By 5.
Wow.
Because I think there's going to be some safeties that are going to throw off the score. At least one safety. And there might be a special teams. The defense might run back for 2, blocked extra point or something like that. So I pick Nebraska by 5.
Wow, Jeff. Would you like some popcorn?
Sure.
Help yourself. Well, yes, as a born and raised Iowa Hawkeye, my allegiances do not change, even though I've lived in Nebraska now more of my life than I ever lived in Iowa, which is another way of saying I'm old. I hesitate, because I always said, when they joined the conference and Iowa started kind of dominating them, I kind of said, I don't want to brag. I just enjoy a year of silence from, particular Husker fans. You know who you are, Jeff, Seth, and others. But, yeah, you guys. This year, Scott Frost, I tell you what, as an Iowa fan, as just a football fan, you can't cheer against Scott Frost. I'm in ways happy for the Huskers that they got such a great coach, quality person. Kind of scares me because they're already getting good. But this year, got to go with my head and my heart. I'm going to pick Iowa. Go Hawks. 37-17. That's your final. Don't even need to watch the game. Write it down.
Okay. Well, I am going to watch the game.
Okay. Well,
I do have that recorded
for
the world to see.
Sorry, Hawkeye fans.
And we
you can blame me. It's my fault if it doesn't turn out good.
We will see how it turns out. So, as I normally like to close these things out, I normally say, go Navy, beat everybody. But special guest picker, Nebraska, Iowa. I'm just going to say, may the best team win.
As long as it's Iowa, I'm with you.
Which is another way of saying Nebraska.